G'day folks, lesson 9, where we're looking at, in many ways, summing up a whole lot of different stuff that we've done in the course. Our next lesson's on turnarounds, and it does a similar thing. It just uses everything that we've already learned in a specific context. So in many ways, this is the sort of final summing up of all the different concepts before we go on and do some analysis of some actual pieces to really bed it all down. So we're looking at ideas that we may have already used in the past, but we're identifying them more so that we are more familiar with them, essentially. We're giving them names. My favourite thing to do. So we're working through changes, working through chord changes. Now, that's important, that word changes, because it's the harmony changes. It moves. Things move around. We need to move with it. We need to change with it. We need to look at all the different things that change and be flexible with that. So the main concept or philosophy, if you like, that we're concerned with when we're looking at moving through changes is this idea of voice leading. Now, it's most often used in when you're arranging harmonies. So if you've got 4 voices or 6 voices or 10 fingers on your piano, each of those parts will want to move to the next chord in a smooth fashion. So say you've got a left-hand note on your piano, and it's this particular shape. You don't want to move that whole shape all the way up to here to play a new chord. You just want to change the orientation of your fingers a little bit to make a new voicing, and therefore each of those fingers moves only a short distance. The same on a normal 6-string guitar, or a 3-string for that matter, with frets. When you're moving from chord to chord, it's much more difficult with a 3-string. When you're moving from chord to chord, if you can avoid going from here to here to here to here to here with these big jumps, you're going to get smoother harmonies. We can use those same ideas when you're playing melodies on a 3-string. And basically it just means approaching the first note of your new chord from a note close by. So say I'm moving to the 4 chord, I want to play that note there, I can approach it from one directly behind it, that one there. We've done this before, okay, but now we're looking at it in this specific context. So let's have a look at a little major melody that does that. That type of thing, yeah? Where you're going from the major third on your 1 chord up to there on the 4 chord, only 1 semitone. So you can hear, even without the chords or the bass note, you can hear how the chord changes. If you're able to follow those chords around in a logical fashion, then yeah, you don't even need the harmony, which is good when you've only got 3 strings to play with. So let's have a look at one of the ways that, again, that we've already done, but we're formalising this a bit more now, that you can use voice leading. Now that's this idea of chromaticism. A chromatic scale or a chromatic movement is one that goes sequentially one half step, 1 fret, 1 key on the piano at a time. So a chromatic scale, etc. A chromatic movement, that's a chromatic movement. A chromatic movement from here, it's like that. We're only going 1 fret at a time. That's a chromatic movement. You can always approach a note in a new chord in a chromatic fashion from a note 1 semitone, 1 fret away, either above or below. We did that earlier in the earlier example. Okay. these little chromatic movements, once you understand the functions of each of the notes and you know how they work as you change chords, can make really groovy little lines. Much more interesting, certainly, than just playing a riff and then repeating it in a different space. You know, going. It's not rocket science, you know. But yeah, playing these little changes between chords is a lot of fun. Okay, so you've got these chromatic movements, and you can essentially do them anywhere, not only over chord changes. Just don't overdo it. You know? But one of the ways that you can look at when you're going from one chord to another is to approach your new note. If it's a strong note in the chord, the new chord that you're going to, from either one semitone or two semitones at a time. So say I'm going there, it's that sort of run would be cool too. You don't only have to go from one away, you can go from two away. You could go from three away or four away, I suppose. You know, it's up to you. It's your music that you're making. But just to start with, just keep it simple. One or two is generally plenty. So the chromaticism, that's another good way to make your melodies interesting. Now, the next thing that I want to look at here, in an effort to wrap up a lot of the theory in this course and prepare for the next lesson on turnarounds, is this idea of extensions and alterations. Now, this is consistent with soloing through changes, as you'll find out in a minute. And it's also something that we've had a brief look at earlier when we looked at how we can use the major and minor pentatonic scales together. Remember, we played the minor pentatonic, and then we added the second note in the scale and the sixth note in the scale from the major pentatonic, and we used those as well. The colour, remember I used the word colour, to colour our melodies, so that type of thing. We refer to those notes as extensions, because while we're covering this, we might as well cover it completely. Remember, we had a 3-note scale, a 1, a 3, and a 5. Then we added the 7, made it 7. If you extend this idea further and add the next note along, well, it's the 1, but we've already got that, so we're not really adding anything. So let's add the next one along. That's the 2, isn't it? If I had frets there, that would be on the 14th fret. Now, but because it comes after the 7, we don't call it the 2, we call it the 9. 7 plus 2 is 9. You may have heard me mistakenly refer to that note earlier as the 9. It's not really a mistake. I didn't mean to say the 9. I meant to say the 2 because I hadn't talked about this yet. But it's generally called the 9 for that reason, because it's usually played with the 7 note as well. So like a 9th chord. I mean, you know, a funk sort of 9th chord or a jazz 9th chord would be that with the 7th note in it and the 9th chord in it. Now, we're struggling to play 3-note chords here, let alone 5-note chords, so 9th chords aren't really relevant. But that 9th note is, okay? Anyway, so we can also play the 9 up here, yeah? Now, in the same way that we can play a 9, add the 9 to this structure, we've got 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. We can add the 6 as well. And that 6 then becomes a 13th, because 7 plus 6 is 13. So again, you may have seen 13th chords referred to here and there. They're great little chords to play in blues. If you're a guitar player as well, find out about 13th chords. They work really well in a blues context. But that's another way that you can extend your chord or extend your scale, which we've, again, already done, to add colour and flavour to your playing. So if you're playing a tune that's sort of, if you had a guitar, you would play a ninth chord. You could play that ninth note a lot. And particularly if you play it with the flat 7, you'll get that more jazzy sort of coloured sort of flavour to your notes. Okay. Now, the very last thing is something that we haven't touched upon yet, and you'll use it in the next lesson on turnarounds, and you'll use it in when you're soloing through changes as well. Often not even realising that you're doing it, but again, I'll give you all this information. A lot of it you'll find that you won't need. That's all right. I feel that you've come here to learn stuff. You've paid up for this course. I'll give you as much as I possibly can. Try and make it relevant, but then it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to take this on right now. You might want to come back in 5 years and chase this up. But this is another concept that I use a lot. And you can decide whether or not you want to. At the end of the day, we're all adults. We can make our own decisions about these things. But here's the information anyway. If you play a 9 note there, or a 5 note, let's say a 5 note. Right? Before we've played the 9 and the 6 together, right? Now we're not going to do that. We're going to look at the 9 and the 5. So you play a 9. What's a cool thing to do is instead of the 9, play a note either side of it. We call the note a little bit higher than the 9 the sharp 9. We call the note a little bit lower than the 9 the flat 9. Now the sharp 9, I can hear you from all the way back here telling me, hang on a sec, you said that was the minor third. It is. It just depends on your context. It depends on what you want to call it. If it's in a chord, then you'll have the major third as well. So you'll have the major third and that one together. It'll be the sharp 9. That Hendrix chord, Foxy Lady, bump, bump, down. I can't play a sharp 9 chord just by singing it, but have a listen to Foxy Lady, Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's the sharp 9 chord. Okay, it's got the major third and the sharp 9. So the sharp 9 and the flat 9, we're altering a 9th chord now, so it's called an alteration. Then we do the same thing with the 5. If we, instead of playing the 5, not as well, but instead of playing the 5, we play the flat 5 or the sharp 5, you're playing an alteration, okay? You're playing a flat 5 chord, sometimes referred to as a diminished 5th. I'm not going to go there, we've got to draw the line somewhere, right? But so I'm not going to go off now talking about diminished chords. But sometimes that's called a flat 5 or a sharp 5. Yeah? If you do that instead of playing the 5. Now the usual way that these chords are, these notes, these alterations are used is, a dominant chord. We haven't talked much about that either because we're using dominant chords everywhere, so we don't need to look at dominant chord functions so much because it's just in everything. So, but when you're moving particularly in a turnaround, which is why I'm doing this now to prepare us for the next lesson, or from the 5 chord to the 1 chord, so right at the very end of your blues, yeah? Or if you're going from the 5 to the 1 and not through the 4, or if you're moving from the 1 to the 4, right? You can do this as well. I'll let you figure out why that is. Okay, we'll save that for another day. You can play these alterations. So let's have a listen. Let's have a listen to playing from a 5 to a 1. Now the alterations in the 5 chord. Okay, you ready for this? The alterations in the 5 chord are. There's the 1 in the 5 chord. The flat 9. There's the flat 9 and the sharp 9. There's the major third, okay? So I can play one of those or one of those to lead me. Remember, that's what we're doing, to lead me to the one chord. So. That didn't sound particularly remarkable because all we did was go from the flat 7 up there. There was just a note that we've used before. We did use this note here that we've not used before in a different context. So let's just play around the last 4 bars just so you can hear that a bit better. Okay, that time when I went from the 1 to the 4, remember I said we could use these extensions then, alterations then. I called that a sharp 9. I went to there. Again, it's a minor third. You can do that anyway. It doesn't matter what you call it. So a lot of this stuff you'll be able to do it without actually knowing any of this stuff. But if you can grab it, good. If you can't, just yet, that's all right. It's tricky. It's supposed to be tricky. So anyway, that's what an extension and an alteration is, okay? And we use them to connect our chords together. We'll have a closer look at that when we're looking at turnarounds, as I've said, because turnarounds it's all about connecting stuff. So it's right at the end because it's sort of the meat of the theory. So a fair bit in that. Remember, we're talking about voice leading, different ways of voice leading. Chromaticism, moving one note at a time toward a new chord. We're looking at using our extended notes, the 9 and the 13, we can call them now, to flavour things, and we can alter the 9 particularly and the 5 to move around certain sequences as well. Okay, so, and you'll learn more about that, bed that down a little bit more in the turnaround part of the course. Okay, so see what you can make of that, and we'll be back in a minute for the musicianship exercise.